Okay, the final item under my report is, we call it governance procedures, which is essentially what we've done is review the charters of the committees, update them to reflect the transfer of OACH to resident services, a number of other matters that were largely housekeeping. So that was sort of part one. Part two was a setting of schedule, a meeting schedule for 2018 for the board and committees. Now, we do not determine committee meeting dates. That's up to the individual committees, but you have the proposed board meeting dates in front of you. The proposal is to meet 7 times next year. Those dates have been set in consultation with city councilors and others, and take also into consideration statutory and other holidays. So that's the proposal for you. I would move approval. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thanks.
Under BIFAC, which removal of advisory subcommittees are you proposing here?
None, as it turned out. The original proposal was to remove the subcommittees. They've been added back in. Actually, technically, I guess the bid award subcommittee, that this was a further amendment.
The bid award subcommittee would be removed subject to the bylaw report approval later on.
It would become redundant.
So I see what continue. That's really
Okay, yeah, I guess it's just the timing for
okay.
dealing with this.
So does that need to be specified in this?
It is updated reports were sent, and we have hard copies that are right.
Okay, so as long as it's clear that IEC is still appointed BIFAC.
Yeah, and the ITS as well. I said it is preliminary to remove them at this point.
Okay, could I have a second for the motion, please? Dennis? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. And Vince, it's now back to you.
Okay. So on or in relation to the financial changes to financial control bylaw, we are looking to move the limits, and which would have, in particular, obviously, of concern to BIFAC, and not of concern, but in relation to BIFAC, our contract limit would, all contracts above $2.5 million would be sent to BIFAC for approval on a quarterly basis. Above 2.5, correct? And then I'm just trying to see here. I want to get the numbers correct. And we talked about the bid award subcommittee, and they would have accountability below the 2.5 million mark as well. And I think we're increasing the limits for the president as well. Is that correct? Isn't that correct?
No. So what we're proposing is the creation of a Procurement Award Committee similar to the bid award committee of the city. This management committee would have approval authority up to $2.5 million. Anything above that goes to the BIFAC.
That's right. Okay, perfect.
And the 2.5, just for greater clarity, the $2.5 million would be unspecified contract, so we would have to kind of full tender process.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I would like to clarify that. So this is things that have been approved in the budget is just the procurement process, correct?
Yes, and not direct awards, and anything that's competitively procured, and anything that is unanimous at the PAC and approved by budget.
And the 2.5, about 2.5 goes to BIFAC and then to the board still, right?
Yeah. No, it does not need to go to the board.
The board has delegated approval to BIFAC for everything under $5 million. Up to $5 million. It's reported to the board,
Okay,
but
it's
not
reported
approved
to
to
the
the board.
board.
Right. Just to be
Yeah.
And everything above $5 million still gets approved at the board.
Not according to this. So what we're doing is anything anything above 2.5 million can go to BIFAC. It can also come to the board, but the BIFAC has that authority as well. So that's all.
No, I was talking about the $5 million. So at the $5 million mark, if there's a $6 million contract, to be very clear, it may get approved by BIFAC, but it's still got to be approved by the board.
We can make that change. That's not how it looks written.
Well, that's how it should be written.
That's how it should be.
Yeah. The chair of that was actually my question. I would fully agree with that. It should be written.
And it was my understanding that
In the charters, it states that. In the amended charter, it states that. Okay, now Catherine's been very patient on a question.
Yes, it's actually something we raised at governance. As chair of the bid award subcommittee, it was a surprise to me when this document came to governance, because there was no conversation with me as chair of the BAS that there was a proposal to discontinue this subcommittee. So I got the message. But what I do want to say, so going forward, we need to be sure if we're going to discontinue a subcommittee, it might be just as a courtesy to have a conversation with the chair of said subcommittee going forward. But what I wanted to say to this board, I used to go to BIFAC every meeting loyally, and the reason from the time I came to this table, and the reason I went to BIFAC is because here is where all the contracts, all the vendor awards, everything is approved that affect our tenants' lives. It happens at BIFAC, and there was no tenant representative on BIFAC. So it was there, I went to ask my questions, clarification, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot from the BIFAC committees, and I've learned a lot since the creation of this bid award subcommittee. So I do think there was some value add in having some directors involved in the award of these contracts. That said, I have no objection to giving me back my life, and you go ahead and have your own in-house committee and approve these contracts. But what I think is missing is the tenant perspective. And you can have management churn through contracts and awards and get new vendors. Never ever is there a tenant perspective on what we're doing. We're just gonna plow ahead and do it. So if you think that's functional, you think it's gonna work, you think our tenants will be happy, then I'm happy to move this forward. But I just think there's a bit of a disconnect between what we're approving and the tenants who are receiving it. Just wanted to get that out there.